we have come through the tears and heavy trials, still we rise to greet the sun.
Children's laughter, rivers flowing, mountains tall, our banner flies, pearl of Africa.
Greetings, dear viewers of the IBANDA TV. This is Kule Chris Kasoro, your usual host, bringing to you the Africanacity Tell. With me are my panelists of the day, Mr. Katshabi Norbert on my right and Mr. Abzuche Julius. Tonight's panel is going to keep you engaged on things like how Uganda has been able to actually achieve economic development, but then secondly is on the sort of affair that existed within the country. Many people are much more likely going to ask themselves about things like corruption and other political stabilities that happen. I think that tonight's program is going to help you and give you more information, bring it to your disposal to ensure that you then have this information that will help you then get informed and be patriotic and ensure that you then help us in solving these problems in Uganda. Remember, Uganda then achieved political independence in 1962 and now we are in 2025. I think this inherently means that we have 63 years after we achieved the independence. I think then the program is going to help us show what have we achieved within these 63 years and what is left for us to achieve within actually the time that is left. I think, remember, we are actually sponsored by the ICT Club at IBANDA Secretary. Stay tuned.
Hope and beauty in our skies. Uganda, my pride, my song, my home. On this day we stand as one. Through the trials and the storms we've known, still together we march on.
For the love of our land so dear,
we shall build with faith, not fear.
Uganda forever free.
Our independence lives in me.
Welcome back from that short break. Thank you for staying with us and staying tuned. The ICT Club of IBANDA Secondary School loves you too. And my panelists are going to have the chance of talking about themselves and then giving us a bit of information and what then gives them the concern and incentive to come and share this information with you on this special program of the day. My panelists, say something to the people who are watching IBANDA TV.
Thank you, today's moderator. I'm very much glad to be hosted in IBANDA TV studios. My name is Norbert Katshabi. I'm very glad to be here, and I will be very glad to see you welcome me next time in the studios.
Anyway, on more bit of engagement, please tell us what then gives you the concern of being part of this program and why you feel like it is very important for you to share some information to the people who are watching us, and why you think then as ensure that we have economic development as an independent country is very important.
Specifically, as a person, why I come to this studio today, I come as a person of integrity. I come majorly to speak on the democracy of our country, to speak on the independence of our country. That's why I'm very glad to be in this studio. So I want specifically to talk about how Uganda has come from that state since 1962 to see our own country changing from one stage to another stage. So it has been a great milestone. That's why you see me here today. I'm very glad for your invitation, and I think what will be talked about today will be great of my own and for the great of my country.
Thank you, Mr. Norbert Katshabi. At least these have been very nice words from you. Let's hear from our second panelist of the day, Mr. Abzuche Julius. Please say something to the people who are watching IBANDA TV, Africanacity Tell.
Yo, thank you so much, Mr. Moderator. So being free from external change, being free from external influence, from external pressure is regarded as independence. But also internal pressure is part of colonization. We need to understand all this in this session. So I'm really so glad that you have given me this opportunity, and I'm very much sure that we're going to show you how Uganda has really moved, what it has attained and what it will attain and what is going on right now. So thank you, sir, Mr. Moderator.
Anyway, on some few things we have to cover today, and what may still be missing within Uganda as a country as we celebrate 63 years of independence since 1962. Firstly is on the weak democratic practice that happens in the country, and then secondly is on the corruption and mismanagement of public funds and misuse of authority that exists within the country, and economic inequality. This may exist as things like economic gaps between the rich people within the country who exploit or who become rich at the expense of the poor people within the country. And the fourth idea is then on the lack of strong institutions. These institutions like the judiciary, oh my god, institutions like the IGG's office, institutions like the OAG that are supposed to be there to ensure that we have things like fighting against corruption being achieved within our own country. We are going to have Mr. Katshabi Nobat give us some engagement on the idea of weak democratic practice within the country, and then show us why he thinks then these things are very important within our own country.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, for that chance. Speaking on the part of weak democrats, Uganda specifically, being a democratic country, being independent, its democratic state is still poor. Why do I say this? I do feel that many Ugandans, since 1962, they have seen change of the government, they have witnessed elections, and they have seen it as a change of democracy. They have seen it as the existence of democracy in their country. They have seen it as a magnificent thing in their country. But what still stands is that Uganda has not yet become that democratic country that we think it should be. Why? Our democratic or the democratic state of a country needs to be having a democratic or an independent organ in its government. Let's say the judiciary, it should be independent, the electoral commission should be independent, not getting all the gains and focusing on the powers and focusing on the wishes of leaders. No. These agencies, the judiciary, the constitution part and the parliament should be very good to the extent that they work independently.
Excuse me. Actually, that brings me to the idea. In most cases, we have seen the president of Uganda intervening in the actually activities of other arms within the government. For example, the president is able to decide on what the IGG is supposed to audit, on what the auditor general is supposed to do within the country. What's your view? I think then this idea of yours takes us to this. Now, my question is, how do you think that this then affects the country's affairs, and then it affects the sorts of welfare and standards of living of the people within the country?
Standing on that, it was well back when I still remember when it was in 2005 that the constitution of Uganda was first changed. Then later, 2017, there came in the also another change about the age limits and whatever. So what is my opinion about that? I do say that if the government of Uganda focuses on its democracy, partly, how is it focusing on it? Let agencies like the IGG, the agents of anti-corruption, the agents of judiciary, if those agencies are independent at their own state, democracy in Uganda itself will become independent at a certain state. Because now we see some presidents are there, but they are majorly gaining powers from other countries. They are working on foreign powers, they are working on foreign force. So I do say that if Uganda becomes independent at 63 years now that it has attained, that it is celebrating, Uganda will be a better country, will be a magnificent country, will be a good place for people to live in it. Why do I say this? Take a instance. Now, if the president of Uganda can decide who is corrupt and who is not corrupt, then who is going to decide if the president is not corrupt or if he's a good person in that country?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Nobat Katshabi. I think Mr. Nobat Katshabi reminds me of some few things that have been happening in the media about the country's welfare. Many people have always doubted on the independence of the Uganda's legislature, or which I may call the parliament. Many people think that this is then an institution that is there to ensure that it serves the interests of the big fish within the country. Don't ask me about what the big fish is, but I know majority of us are then informed. I think on the other idea of what he tells me, This reminds me of the Uganda parliamentary exhibition that took place on X, and this was launched by Jimmy Sintongo, our own cartoonist, and this person is a professor. On this idea, this person was actually exhibiting and trying to show the corruption that existed within the country. Please, I think everyone is informed about what the response of government was and what the response of the president was. Actually, this was what was said. It was quite simple. These are rumors that run on social media, and these are not supposed to be considered, and that's why Basco TV is here to enlighten you as a Ugandan. But then on the second idea of corruption and mismanagement of public funds, in most cases there is a loss of public funds that exists within the country. Actually, the Transparency International has always showed us the corruption perception index. It's CPI. Uganda always has 27 points, 28 points, 26 points. This shows a lot of corruption and shows a very high corruption rate existing within the country. I think then Mr. Atulichiri Julius is going to give us more information and clarity on these kinds of ideas. Thank you, Mr. Atulichiri Julius. Please give us some light on what your mind is on these things happening within Uganda.
Oh, thank you so much, Mr. Moderator, for giving me this opportunity once again to speak more about what is happening currently in Uganda, to speak about what is corruption and also mismanagement within our country, Uganda. So now that Uganda is shooting the 63 years since it attained its independence, we need to understand what is really moving on. So how much Uganda is among the developing countries, but it should be among the developed countries. Why? Because we can sustain ourselves, we have the resources, if you can say, but still corruption is still moving on. So now people rightly are just regretting, just complaining that there is corruption. For me, in my own opinion, I do think that if the government of Uganda really proves to the public, to the people, the citizens, to the natives that there is no corruption existing, I think this is the best opinion that we can at least bring on the board. And how can we bring it to the board? By just developing the undeveloped areas and sectors. So if we can facilitate the agricultural sectors, education sectors, and many other sectors, because in different regions, in different districts, we have weak areas. For example, if we can take an example of Karamoja, now like people from Karamoja region are regretting, people from Karamoja region are crying, so they are claiming that there is corruption within the government. So the government to prove to the public, to the people, to the native that there is no corruption must stand and do something toward such people, toward such communities. And I believe because we as Ugandans, I know that this is proven to everyone that is watching me, that is watching this program. So Uganda, we have vision 2040. I believe if we can all work towards the vision 2040, we can really eradicate what we call corruption and mismanagement. I think that's part of this, Mr. Moderator.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Atulichiri Julius. And Mr. Atulichiri Julius reminds me of something very important. In 2023, we had the Mabati saga that was trending in Uganda. There was embezzlement of iron sheets that were meant for people of Karamoja. I think it's undeniable, and this is evident, that the people of Karamoja are people who live in bad conditions. I think every person in Uganda knows this, right? I think our own leaders didn't have that sympathy that would give them the incentive to feel like they're supposed to protect iron sheets and ensure that these people had some way they were going to survive within their own society. But then secondly, right, Mr. Julius, I would like you to talk to us and address us on something very small. Yes. Some citizens in Uganda feel like they have leaders that go into positions to serve themselves, not the interests of the citizens. What is your idea about this? Is it true that we have leaders who go into office and then forget the interests of the citizens? But then secondly, how do you think then this impacts the society in case if it happens, right?
Thank you so much, Mr. Moderator, for giving me another opportunity to elaborate more about the existing corruption and also mismanagement, because it's all part of corruption and mismanagement. So lately, people are regretting that people like leaders are serving themselves instead of serving people. And therefore, because of what is happening currently and within our country, Uganda, because we are expecting our country to be developed. Why? Because people pay taxes. The reason to why people are regretting, because they pay taxes but they see no improvements. How much there are improvements, but they are not supposed to be the way they are. They're supposed to be higher than they are. That's why people are regretting. And if at all it happens, then we shall just run backwards instead of developing, instead of claiming for the basic. So I think that we should at least consider it as a matter of fact. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Okay, Mr. Julius says something very important. He talks about taxes within Uganda. However, this wasn't part of our discussion, but everyone knows it that in Uganda, majority of the taxes that people pay are never going to actually serve their own interests. Why? That's why we have a government that can run an extravagant party, even when teachers are striking and feel like the salaries they have are not that sufficient or significant within their own lives. I think then this brings us things like tax evasion. However much this will be brought to you by Basco TV some other time. Then on the third idea of the program is on the economic inequality. I think Mr. Norbert Kotshabi is going to help us cover this. Mr. Norbert Kotshabi, in most cases, people in Uganda, actually this is perceived even internationally, people think that in Uganda we have an even distribution of income within the public. How does this happen? This happens in a way that we have an earning of 20 billion as a country. One person in government takes the 10 billion. The 5 billion is taken by other people. And then the 5 billion is meant to serve the public by providing services. I think this inherently means that the benefit we have from this sort of 20 billion is quite not significant. How much I was showing this as an example. That inherently means that people who get the services of the 5 billion are never going to have the better roads to run their businesses and ensure that they get enough profits, right? I would like you to give us some coverage and more information and be clear on how you think then the uneven distribution of public or of income exists within the Ugandan public. But then secondly, show us what the impact then exists, because you have had people who are exploited by the big fish in the country or things like that. Please, you can give us some information and clarity on how these then exist and how they then affect the lifestyles of people within the country.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, for that chance again. Speaking on the economic equality, perhaps the GDP of Uganda is growing at a high state. Things in Uganda are not that way. Money is not evenly distributed. Every day and the other day we see in Parliament they pass budgets, some of the budgets that are not clear the definition of that person there live in the village. What does this bring to Uganda? As the economic status of Uganda, people in Uganda, in our rural villages, in our local centers, down there, in our homesteads, people are getting poor day and day. Mr. Moderator, perhaps the research that was taken during the population census that was recently carried out, it brought it clearly that most rural areas in Uganda, parts of Karamoja, parts of, as you go back to the sides of Tanzania, parts of Visinjro, and the other parts, very many people there in those sides are very poor. What is bringing this? The economic sector of Uganda, though at times we see that it is developing, but at a certain stage, the money that is collected through taxes, the money that is collected through all other government organizations is not evenly distributed among the people. What is this bringing to the people of Uganda? It is bringing the people of Uganda, many youth are becoming unemployed. Why are they becoming unemployed? Youth in Uganda are becoming unemployed. Why? They have studied, and after studying, they have lacked jobs because they have lacked money to put in for their own well-being. That comes in when you find you're coming from a poor family, your studying status has been in poor schools, and then at the later stage, you need to work in a good agency and which needs some money. At that time, you find that the school you're studying in is not developed because it has not got the funds, it has not got everything that it needs to develop its sector. So I do say that in the economic sector of Uganda, though at a certain stage it has developed since 1962, but we need to run a certain stage to reach a better goal. Other countries like Singapore and many others that did achieve in a period of simple years after its independence than our country, Uganda.
I think that takes me to an idea. Anyway, this is factual truth that in 40 years ago, the economic development in Uganda was the same as that existed within Singapore. But currently, statistics have it, Singapore is now running one of the world's best economies. We are left with two ideas. The first one is the idea of lack of strong institutions. But then secondly is on erosion of constitutionalism within our own country. Thank you for watching us. This is Ibasco TV. We are going to have a short break. Please stay with us. Stay tuned for more information. Welcome back from that short break, and thank you for staying with us as Ibasco TV, the ICT club of IBANDA Secondary School, loves you too. From the comment section on our social media platforms, here on X is Mr. Hillman Martin says, yeah, much as Uganda has achieved independence and there has been some economic progress, however much government needs to tap into the things like natural resources that exist within the country and ensure that then we have things like production to ensure that we have economic development on that. But then what also becomes most important is fighting against corruption, because corruption has been a bigger challenge within the country. Thank you, Mr. Hillman Martin, for the comment. Mr. Tumwebaze Stephen, our student and our head prefect, here is his comment, and what he says is very important. In his words, he says, yeah, there has been a failure in ensuring that there is a defined activity cost that exists within the government institutions, because we have seen in most cases the executive intervening into the legislature's things like activities or decisions that are made. But then secondly is on the fact that the Ugandan government then has relied on the ruling national resistance movement political systems, i.e. these people are able to make decisions for the people that live within the country. Yeah, if something then benefits the government or the leading government or the NRM is what is then taken without considering the people who may be on opposition, even in parliament. And that's why we had the age limits being taken up, the presidential age limit being taken away, plus the presidential terms that were scrapped off from the system in 2005. Welcome back. And on our fourth idea, what we had stopped is on the lack of strong institutions. Mr. Atujichi Julius is going to get us covered. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Moderator, for this second session of my opportunity to speak about lack of strong institutions. So institutions like the judiciary and police often lack independence and effectiveness. Many Ugandans do not feel protected by the law, especially if they are poor and politically oppressed by regime. So this is what is all about, a lack of strong institutions. Because now we need to have strong institutions if the people or if the citizens and natives to feel like they are protected by the law and also by the government. I think we should emphasize all this. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Yeah. Mr. Tuzichiri Julius reminds me of the Black Monday movement way back in 2012, when the youth in the country always went and demonstrated peacefully on roads and streets, elaborating that they weren't happy with the things like corruption that existed within the country. The parliament's response wasn't consideration of whatever these people said. The government's response was quite simple, was bringing the UPDF, beating these people up and taking them back forcefully to their homes. Some people ended in prisons. Please, I may not have enough information on what happened after that, but still we know what happened to those that were arrested, right? This is very evident within the country. And then on our last idea then of the erosion of constitutionalism within the country, we have in most cases have constitutional changes. Actually, in most cases, and these are at times serving the political elites that exist within the country, because we have the big fish. Yeah, this person exists, the big fish. So for as long as this is what they want, the constitution has to go this way. And Mr. Norbert is going to give us a brief review of what he says, and Mr. Julius will give us some other brief review of what he says on the affairs in Uganda, and then we move to the African continental situation and what we think is then important for we the Africans and for the Africanacity movement. Thank you, Mr. Norbert. Shall we get back to our people who are watching us?
Thank you very much, all those people that are watching us and who have equipped it, IBANDA TV. Speaking on in the illusion of the Constitution, right? Since 1894, when Uganda got it from the British Protectorate, it came to 1962, it got its independence. We have got our constitution that has been there for a long period of time. We got Milton Obote, who changed it, the Pingian constitution. We later moved. It has been a move from one constitution to another. But recently now we are standing on one constitution. But what is coming in this constitution? There have been many reviews, like I was telling you in 2005, 2017, there has been a lot of reviews in this constitution, whereby many people are measuring on one thing, which is the thing. Some people are measuring on term limits, others are measuring on personal benefits concerning security, guiding their assets. So what they are putting in the constitution, it all safeguards their assets. It all safeguards their works that they are doing in the government, so that by the time they come out of the government, the constitution still supports them, still gives them a chance to stand as people, still give them a chance not to be tried in courts of law. Recently, in 2005, this year of recent, we have seen the amendment of the constitution. Still, they are adding that civilians should be tried in military courts, and which I see this is not good to our independence, because we got independence that we should be independent people. We should live under a democratic government whereby I think the judiciary should be doing its part, not people being tried in military courts. But leaving that at that, we have seen very many people petitioning, wanting that this constitution should be changed. But as we do believe, time comes for the constitution to be changed, but it has not yet come. So, dear moderator, what I see, the government of Uganda has got a chance that it has got a very good constitution, but it has got leaders that are taking all ideologies, they are taking all their matters that should be addressed when they are still in government, and they are putting them in the constitution, so that by the time they get out of the government, they still have that chance to stand as people, to stand as members of the government, though they did commit things that were contrary to the constitution.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Norbert Katshavi. Yeah, this brings me to ideas. In most cases, we have seen people of the opposition being oppressed within the political system. Even as we get to the 2026 general elections of Uganda, as Ugandans decide, right? I think we are going to evidence these kinds of trends from the days of Besigye, from 2021 when we had Robert Chagulanyi Sentamu also trying to contest for this position, right? I think these are trends that exist within this country. I think this still also exists because we don't have the sort of appropriate constitutionalism within the country. It's very easy for the big fish or for the president or for any other person in government to decide or to influence on what then the arms of government or what maybe things like UPDF are able to do to ensure that there is what favors them existing within the country. We have also have some other inefficiencies that exist within our own judiciary, in courts and those. Mr. Atudiche Julius is also going to give us some brief information about what he thinks or what his perception is, and what then the incentives that lack within, and then the incentives that are important or that lack in the government that can help us then achieve constitutionalism within the country. Because if we don't do anything, constitutionalism is also eroding. Thank you, Mr. Julius.
Yeah, once again, thank you, Mr. Moderator, for giving me this chance again to talk about the illusion of constitutionalism. So, talking about the illusion of constitutionalism, we need to look at different things within this session. For example, courts have been overruled by the parliament at sometimes or the executive. So we need to understand what is all about all this. So sometimes I think to achieve what is best in our country, we need to leave the courts and rule on the behalf of people and what's right. So if at all people have their issues, maybe among themselves or among others, these issues must be handled by the government and justly to evaluate what is brought on the board. So without going any further, we need to understand that the illusion of a constitutionalism is not just unfair, because we were officially and nationally put right with by giving us independence or by attaining independence, but we need to understand that what is in us, the pressure that is in us, is not right. The people are claiming what is happening about what is happening in the country, and we need to avoid all this. Mr. Moderator, I think if the government focuses on the views of people, then the illusion of constitutionalism will be eradicated. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Julius. Actually, there is some comment my panelists of today. I would like to read to you. This is Mr. Twire Medad, our teacher of English language. Oh, sorry, I was soon saying our English teacher, but fine. That's English. English is what you make it anyway. He says, Uganda's independence was not a destination, it was a beginning. The country has made strides, but for many citizens, true independence will only be felt when their voices matter, and secondly, when their leaders are accountable, and thirdly is when their lives improve meaningfully. Thank you for watching us. Stay tuned as we bring to you the analysis on the situation in African countries, on how far the African continent is trying to improve and ensuring that then becomes a better place, a better home for everyone within the continent. Welcome back, our dear viewers of the Basco TV. This is the program then brought to you again. I want to introduce because it's going to be very common to you anyway. Yeah, thank you. Anyway, firstly, I think everything that exists has advantages and disadvantages. Had we not been colonized by these whites, we would not be here talking about things like independence. Oh, thanks to them, because they gave us what to even talk about. But anyway, I think Africa's independence refers to the period in the 20th century when many African nations gained freedom from European colonial rule, mainly between 1950s and 1970s. I think this definition is approved from our trusted site, the Reuters. But anyway, we have 4 key points we're going to talk about. Firstly is on the colonial background, and then secondly, I think when we have colonialism, that there is that incentive that incentivizes people to feel like, yeah, we feel like we should have colonial independence, and then this is going to be our second idea on the causes of independence movements. Like really, what caused Africans to feel like they should have independence? What incentive existed there that gave them the motivation to look for these kinds of ideas? And the third idea is on the major milestones that then existed and that have been still existing within the entire continent. And our fourth idea is going to be the post-independence challenges. As we have been talking on this idea from the Africanacity Tell, we are going to then have more analysis on the post-independence challenges that have been happening within Africa. Mr. Norbert Kapchabe is going to give us some bit of engagement on just 2 ideas as we wind up our program. Firstly is on the colonial background, and then secondly is on what incentive existed that incentivized Africans to create independence movements that would help them achieve independence within their entire continent. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Norbert Kaltrawi. Welcome back from the break. I have to welcome you even when I welcome our viewers, right? You know you aren't engaged. Yeah. And you have been a very, very important part of this program. And my request is that you still return some other time and give us some words of wisdom and some words that may actually that may enlighten the Africans and the people of Uganda and our viewers, by the way. just know Basco TV isn't watched by only Africans or Ugandans. And the rest of the viewers are people abroad in USA that actually watch the Basco TV. Give us your information. The arena is yours.
Thank you very much. Still back. It is, as you have already heard, but culturally I have not yet changed. Specifically, I did ask me, or I did question me, Africa refers, or Africa's independence is a period of the 20th century where many countries and states attained their independence. What I can say, mainly African countries attained their independence from 1950s to 1970s. Those were the years Africa got her independence, specifically for different countries, as we here, Uganda.
That time, many countries got independence. I think it's South Africa that got in 1994. Yeah.
So, right there, when you go back to the colonial background, by early 90s, nearly all Africans were under Europe control, that is Britain, France, Belgium, Portugal, Germany, and Italy. What does this bring? So, when we came on time came on going, days came on changing, the colonial powers that exploited Africans and their resources, people were enforced and got that imitation of foreign rule that made them impress of their culture, made them live their ways of living, and it was a mess that was the time, during the time of colonial background. We still remember in Tanzania, there were farms, there were other things by colonialists. Here in Uganda, we still remember of the Indians, whatever, all that happened. All these were things that were there during that time of the colonial time, the colonial background, what I can term as. But we faced a time of independence. Very many people, I think, outside there, you question yourselves what brought independence in these countries, that is in 1950 to 1970s. What brought the independence in Africa was not a very big difference, was not a very big thing from the world that made it diverse, made it change, made it become an independent country, made it something become an independent continent, whatever. What brought this majorly was the World War II. So, when the World War II came in, this weakened the European powers that were stationed in Africa, in some countries, here in Uganda, Tanzania, and among countries in Africa. So, when that came in, those countries that had dominated in Africa, they had to leave and go. After going, the Africans gained that self-rule, because those people, most of them were running to go and defend their countries, to defend their nations, because it was World War II. But later, that would not be the final thing. What was the final thing that brought independence in the African countries? It was all about Pan-Africanism. People spoke about Pan-Africanism. We have Kwame Nkrumah, the late. We do respect him. We have Julius Nyerere. We have Dr. Milton Obote. Very many people.
That's Jomo Kenyatta.
Yeah, we have Jomo Kenyatta.
Our Kenyan legend.
So, people fought for Africa. They did what was needed for Africa to become an independent country, for Africa to be born as a new boy, for Africa to be born as a new continent in the world. But later, we had to see those national leaders, like I already told you, like the Kwame Nkrumah for Ghana, Jomo Kenyatta, and this man for Kenya, Patrice Lumumba for Congo. That man suffered very many things. They led to political campaigns, protests. They conducted riots, demonstrations that later forced the Europeans, forced those people from other countries, from other continents to say, no, let's leave Africans alone, let them attain their independence, and then we can see what are they making for themselves. But so they went, they remained a part of neocolonialism in their country. But all that was there during that time, they attained what they could attain, they made what they could make in that time during the colonial background, what they faced, the farmers, the digging, and the slave trade and the others. And then they later changed in the World War II. They went for Pan-Africanism. They set
leadership terms as national leaders are like I already told you. They made parties, the ANC, among others, that fought for their own independence as Africa.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Norbert Katshabi. You know I like calling you Bart Katshabi. I don't know if you're happy with the name, but thank you for the information. Anyway, in our comment section is Mr. Innocent Arhomhanji. He's actually one of our studio men that work with us as Ibasco TV, and he's in charge of the entire production and the direction of everything that happens on Ibasco TV. What he says is that here, Africans' incentive to feel like they need independence was because of many ideas, just like how one of our panelists has said. However much he says there was a lot of oppression and Africans were made slaves in their own land. And this made them feel like it wasn't better for them to feel like they were begging in a land that belonged to them. Then secondly, there evidence of how whites were dying within these world wars incentivized them and gave them the motive to feel like fighting against these people because they had seen them fighting or against these kinds of things. The third thing, which also becomes a very, very important point I get from his entire sentence. Thank you, Mr. Homanji, wherever you are and wherever you're watching from. He says, yeah, as whites came to Africa, Africans didn't invite whites to come and colonize them. In the first place, Africans thought they would have things like modernization, development, and things like coexistence that would be fair within Africa. But then when this translated into things like apartheid policies that exist within countries like South Africa, where we had the Dutch, what did I say? It says where we had the Dutch actually fighting against South Africans and oppressing these people within their own land, made them feel like then it was very important for them to fight against these people. Otherwise, they would lose everything they had within their continent if they didn't fight for these kinds of ideas. I thank you, Mr. Homehaji Innocent, wherever you are our producer. And on our third idea of major milestones and second and then post-independence challenges, we're going to have Mr. Atsuchiri Julius getting us covered and giving us more information and clarity on these kinds of ideas. Thank you, Mr. Atsuchiri Julius. You know, a lot has been said on what the major milestones in Africa were. People have been highlighting the African year where African countries, majority of them got independence. There were 17 countries. Yeah, I know you have the statistics. Yes. And these things have been important, and these people have been moving within the entire African society. Yes. Please give us some information on what your perception about these kinds of ideas looks like, and then on what you think the post-independence challenges in Africa have been the challenges we have had at the end of the day.
Thank you so much, Mr. Moderator, once again for giving me this golden opportunity. I call it golden opportunity because if we were talk about the major milestones, we shall really see that this is a golden opportunity to speak about them. So, if you talk about the major milestones, Ghana was the first sub-African country, was the first sub-Saharan African country to gain independence from Britain in 1957. Yeah. In 1960, the so-called the Year of Africa. This is where most African countries gained independence in. So actually, 17 African countries gained independence in this year alone. So this is so great. It's so amazing. Portuguese colonies, Angola, Mozambique, and other gained freedom after long wars. So it was around 1970s. So these countries also gained independence and freedom from the Portuguese. So now, if you talk about the post-independence challenges, then they include political instability, military coups, and dictatorships. Ethnic division is caused by arbitrarily colonial borders, economic dependence on former colonial powers, ongoing struggles for democracy and development. I think these are post-independence challenges or problems that we are really facing, or that we can mention in this session. Thank you so much, Mr. Moderator.
Oh, yeah. Actually, you know, in most cases, I always forget some important information. There is something you talked about that I noted here.
Yes.
You are like, we have ethnic divisions caused by arbitrary colonial borders.
Yes.
Yeah, this is true. For example, there is one time I was moving to Nairobi.
Yeah.
And when I reached Busia, it was my first time. You know, in most cases, I always use the Malaba border.
Right.
Yeah. So for this time, I used Busia through from Iganga, Bujiri, then Bustema areas, then Busia border. Surprisingly, we have Busia in Uganda and Busia in Kenya.
Wow.
This apparently means that this land belongs to the same people. But then the problem is that these people are actually have differences. These differences are created by their borders, and that's why we'll have people who live in the Ugandan Busia and the people who live in the Kenyan Busia. Thank you very much, my panelists of the day. Please say something to the people who have been watching us as the Basco TV. Say something to them. You can even send some greetings to your loved ones, people who have been very instrumental and important to you, right? Yeah, thank you, Mr. Norbert Katshame. Give us your word.
Thank you very much, Basco TV fraternity, for hosting me personally in this program. It has been a great honor for me to be here in Basco TV. This is my first time to be here, and I'm very glad, and I will be very I will be happy if I'm back for the second time.
Trust me, this is not going to be the last time.
Right. So I do send my greetings to everyone outside there who really loves Norbert Katshabi. I am a man that really does emceeing at every time. So just call me MC Nobs Official. Every person that is outside there and can follow me on my Instagram handle, you will do great. I do greet my parents and everyone who loves Norbert Katshabi. I will be glad to be back here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bad Katshabi. So you send your greetings to your mom, what of your girlfriend anyway. Okay, thank you anyway. So Mr. Absolutely Julia, say something for the people and to the people who are watching Basco TV as you say your last part.
Yeah, I'm greatly honored for this opportunity that you have given me once again. So thank you for watching this program. It has been so marvelous and wonderful. We have shared ideas, and I believe that we have really gained a lot from this. I send greetings to everyone there, my parents, my spiritual dad, Mr. Happy Francis, and many others there outside, people who are following Ibasco Vision. I really greet them. Keep on following. Actually, this is my second time to be here, and I really know that I will be here again, I'm grateful for that. Thank you so much.
And Basco TV also loves you, our dear host, and hopefully you guys are going to give us the best response we can ever have, as we also invite you some other time to Gambia. Anyway, thank you for watching Basco TV Live. Greetings to everyone who loves us. Thank you for loving the ICT Club of IBANDA Secondary School. We also love you so much. It has been the Africanacity Tell, brought to you by